guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm sure all of us are expecting to rock a red lip like this holiday season. But in reality, you get this. Wearing a red lip during a holiday party can get stressful. If you're like me, you'll try to leave it on and still enjoy eating and drinking while not ruining your lipstick, or you're constantly taking it off and reapplying it and checking in the mirror every 2 seconds to make sure that it is as perfect as it was when you first applied it. In order to make your holidays a little less stressful, I'm going to be showing you how to create perfectly stained rosy lips using just a lip balm and a red lipstick of your choice. So if you're interested and want to see how, keep on watching. To prep my lips for the stain I'm going to be creating later, I'm going to be using this really cute holiday gift pack of Soft Lips Cube lip balms, and I'm actually going to be keeping the salted caramel flavor to myself and saving the other two for stocking stuffers later. I really love the fact that these lip balms have an SPF of 15, so you can totally wear them to a daytime party and keep it going into the evening. Also, I'm addicted to sweets, so having my lips taste like salted caramel isn't a bad thing either. Now I'm going to go into the eyes, and I'm going to start by applying my Coke & Dale Aqua Foundation to the area around my brows using a Zoeva 102 Silk Finish brush. Doing this just makes it a lot cleaner when applying brow product and shadow, because sometimes when I apply my foundation later, it can mess up that area. And before I apply my brow powder, I'm just setting the brows with a little bit of the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish Powder in a Light Plus and a Smith 112 brush. I'm using the Anastasia Brow Powder Duo in Chocolate and Delium Brush 735 to fill in my brows. To prime my lids for eyeshadow, I'm using the Laura Mercier Eye Basics Shadow Primer in Cotton. I'm applying a few dots with the applicator and then blending it out with the tip of my finger. And then before I go in with any eyeshadow, I'm again applying the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish Powder to my lids to help further blend out any shadows that I'm going to be applying. The first color I'm going in with is Creme Brulee by Makeup Geek, and I'm applying it to my crease using a Smith 230 brush. Normally, I tend to use the Smith 232 brush, which is a little bit bigger, but I wanted my application to be a little more precise and tight around the crease, which is why I'm using this smaller brush. Next, I'm going in with Makeup Geek's Latte Eyeshadow and that same Smith 230 brush to further darken up the crease, and I'm applying this shadow directly underneath where I placed Creme Brulee. And just on a side note, all of the shadows that I'm using from Makeup Geek for this look are essential neutrals that I think everyone should have in their kit. And then with a Sigma E40 brush, I'm just blending these two shadows out together. To darken up the look, I'm using Makeup Geek's Mocha Eyeshadow and again the Smith 230 brush to just apply it to the outer V of my eye. This is going to give the eyes a really nice ombre sort of effect. And then again, I'm blending out the shadows using a Sigma E40 brush, but I'm mainly blending towards the inner part of the eye and not really going over the dark shadow that I just applied. On the lid, I'm going to be packing on ColourPop's Super Shock Shadow in Tea Party, and I'm going to be applying this just with my finger because if you haven't played with the ColourPop shadows, the texture of them is really unique in that they're almost sort of like a cream shadow, so I feel like you get the most color payoff by just using the tip of your finger. To smooth out and define the crease, I'm just going back in with that Smith 230 brush and blending out the darker shadows along the edge of the lighter shadow. You guys know I love shadow on the inner bridge of the brows, so I felt like this look was lacking a little color, so I picked up Makeup Geek's Frappe eyeshadow on a Smith 232 brush to apply it to that area and then further blend out the rest of the shadows. To make this a really classic holiday look, I decided to pair it with a winged liner. I'm using ColourPop's Gel Liner in Swerve, which is black, and a Zoeva 317 wing liner brush to create the wing for this look. And just keep in mind when using an angled liner brush to flip it in the correct direction. So when you're creating the flick, make sure that the point of the brush is facing towards the inner part of the eye, and then when you're dragging it back in, the point is facing towards the hairline. No winged liner is ever complete without tightlining, so I'm going to be using ColourPop's Gel Liner in Swerve. So it's the same color as the one in the pot, but in the pencil form, to tightline the upper waterline. And I say no winged liner is ever complete without this step because if you were to skip this step, you get a gap between the waterline and the lashes, and filling it in just makes that area look really black. I'm going to be applying a light coat of Benefit's Roller Lash Mascara before going in with my Flutter Dimensional Lashes, which I applied off camera to save some time. Now I can go back and finish the rest of the complexion, and I'm going to start by applying a good amount of the Marc Jacobs Coconut Primer to my skin, because just like how I need the lip balm to keep my lips hydrated, I really need this primer to keep my skin hydrated because it is so extremely dry here in LA right now. So as you can see, I'm applying this all over my face and not just down the center like I normally do. The foundation I'm using is that same Kogan Do foundation that I applied in the beginning to the area around my brows. I'm mixing the two shades together to customize my color and then blending it out with a Zoeva 102 Silk Finish brush. To conceal and highlight, I'm going to be using the Tarte Maracuja Creaseless Concealer, and I'm going to be applying it to the area underneath my eyes, center of the forehead, around the nose and chin, and then blending it out with a beauty blender. To set certain areas of my face that tend to crease up and get a lot of product buildup, I'm going to be using a loose powder. I'm using the Ben Nye Luxury Powder in Cameo, and I'm using a damp beauty blender, the same one that I used to blend out my concealer, to apply that powder to the area underneath my eyes and around the nose. To set the rest of my face, I'm going to be using the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish Powder in Light Plus that I used in the beginning of the tutorial, and I'm applying it to my skin in light patting motions using a Zoeva 106 powder brush. To warm up the skin and also to contour and define, I'm going to be using the Makeup Forever Pro Bronze Fusion in the shade 20M and a Smith 118 brush to apply it to the hollows of my cheeks, temples, and jawline. Using that same Smith 118 brush, I'm going to be using the Anastasia So Hollywood Illuminator to highlight the tops of my cheeks, temples, tip of the nose, and Cupid's bow. But for the nose and Cupid's bow, I'm using the tip of my finger to be a little more precise and not go too overboard with the highlighting. I'm going to be using that Smith 118 brush one last time to apply my blush. I'm using the Tarte 12 Hour Blush in the shade Exposed. Before going into the lip stain, I'm going to be putting some final touches on the eyes. I'm going to be using a brown kohl pencil. This one's from NARS. It's called Mambo. It's really comparable to Teddy from MAC, and I'm using that to fill in my lower waterline. And I'm using that same Mocha eyeshadow that I used in the beginning and a large smudge brush from Morphe. This is the M333 brush to apply it to the lower lash line. And finally, I'm just coating my lower lashes in that same Roller Lash Mascara from Benefit. And I'm just going in with a clean spoolie brush to lift my lower lashes to prevent any mascara from transferring to my under eye area. For one final added boost of hydration, I'm going to be applying another coat of the Soft Lips Lip Balm and pressing it in with my fingers. And then using a red lipstick of your choice, I'm going to be using Maybelline's Color Blur lipstick in the shade Plum Please. I'm going to apply a tiny bit of the lipstick to my lips and then blend it out with the smudger on the other side. This product specifically comes with a smudger, but you can always use your fingers to blend it out onto the lips. Using the tiniest amount of lipstick and the lip balm will create the perfect lip stain. Not only are your lips going to stay super hydrated, but the stain is also going to last the entire night. But if you do decide to wear a little more color, I suggest wearing a liquid matte lipstick. This one is Merlot by Dose of Colors because it doesn't transfer as much as a shiny red lip would, but if you're feeling extra brave, feel free to pop on a gloss right on top. The one I'm wearing here is Date Night by Anastasia. Thumbs up if you liked this video, and don't forget to subscribe so I see you in the next one. Bye guys!